Hello there, Qckslvrslash, and today we have a video courtesy of Galrock in the Tier 10 German cruiser, the Hindenburg. And this is one of my more enjoyed Tier 10s for a couple of reasons. Most people know this ship as an amazing long-range harasser. You can kite and shoot people all day, and good armor, good maneuverability, and a very good DPM make her very well suited to that. Unfortunately, when you're doing or playing this ship in that role, you don't really get to use the torps that she comes with. And these torpedoes are something fierce in their own right. You've got 2 racks on each side, and their arcs are amazing. Compared to something like the Zhao, where basically a limited window directly broadside, the Hindi can fire the torps pretty much forward and aft. It's kind of a German trait for anyone who's fought something like a Graf Spee, where she can, from the back of her ship, launch the torpedoes almost forward. And a lot of that has to do with the exposed nature of the torpedo racks on these ships. It just means there's less in the way, whereas if you look at most of the Japanese, they're kind of on jungle decks, you know, not the exposed weather deck. They're down below, which means they can only swing out one way. They can't do, you know, a full arc over the side. But those aren't going to get used just yet. So early on, Galrock is doing what you'd expect a Hindenburg to do. Setting up, you know, medium to long range, kind of sitting back with the battleships, just looking for position, trying to figure out where he can best be to push the fight. Now you can see from the heading of all the friendly battleships and that Edinburgh, it looks like A is not a cap of choice. Now the Yugamo is in there contesting it right now, but the Harakaze, it's already sailing out, and well, a New Orleans is sailing kind of into range, which will probably eventually push this Yugamo into the need to run. Now, DDs all through their torps, doesn't look like anyone's going to hit. You know, you've got smoke either side of the cap. This is pretty standard. But the thing I notice right away, the enemy team is managing to take all 3 caps. And that's a problem. And you can see there with the New Orleans spotted pretty much side on, heading into that smoke. Galrock switches over to AP, just ready for the next time he gets spotted. And right now, Gal's doing a great job just keeping that rudder moving. You know, lots of ships have been shooting at him so far, but one is yet to land a shell. And that's really where the Hindi can get annoying. The Hindi at range is an absolute beast, especially if you go double rudder or something like that, or go with the propulsion upgrades so you can accelerate quicker and just really maximize your WASD hacks. And you know, a lot of players long range gunnery, you know, out to the outer edge of what their ship is capable of isn't that strong. So if you get good at shooting at the longer ranges with these ships, you're gonna have an advantage over kind of a lot of the standard players, and particularly battleships. Battleships with that slower rate of fire are putting a lot of their eggs into that one basket, that one volley. They need it to do damage. Whereas the Hindi, very high rate of fire. The spotter plane, you can go toe-to-toe on engagement range with pretty much any battleship in the game, and just be at a range where your maneuverability makes you incredibly hard to hit. Now, will someone land lucky shots? Of course. They're going to just take a stab in the dark at where you might turn, and maybe they'll hit you. And that's where kind of varying how you're turning, adjusting your speed is really important. But what's growing more and more important, even this early in the game, is they need to establish a cap. Now the enemy Shenyang is currently spotted. Galrock brings his guns around, gets the Hydra up because DD was spotted. You know torps are somewhere in the water, and the Shenyang turns right into that volley, 2400 damage, and in that you can see another really good effect of these German HE shells. They can really punish pretty much anything. Got a King George V who probably feels a little out of place there, tier 7 in a tier 10 game, dragged in by some div mates. And well, 2 fires, you can pretty much guarantee those are going to get repaired right away, and that will make him kind of a priority target, at least until fires are set again. The KGV doesn't have that special British heal, so if Galrock can get a fire right now on this KGV, it's going to go a long way to just ticking his health down. He'll be able to recover some of it, but not all of it in one chunk. Not like, say, the Conqueror. So, to meet just that goal, Gal gets his spotter plane into the air and just continues to fire at that KGV. Until the Shenyang spotted. And the Harakaze kind of went charging in there. Can use every bit of help he can get. Unfortunately, the Shenyang kind of turning between all those. Misses the torpedoes. Is he going to eat any of these? Nope, he gets away with it, and Galrock's shells just not quite connecting. Kind of high and low on that last volley. There we go, gets a hit there, another 825 damage, and like I said, every little bit helps. The Harakaze, depending what guns he's got mounted, is a mean little ship, and it's probably why the Harakaze charged in. Unfortunately, doesn't work out for him. And with that fire going out, the engine's getting repaired. The Shenyang was preparing to run, but Galrock finishes him off. First kill of the game, and gets rid of a big threat. Now ideally, this is where you'd see something like the Yugamo dip into the cap. The enemy destroyer that's spotted, it's a Benson. Yugamo well out detects him. Could easily control that engagement, but I think just the vague presence that in New Orleans is somewhere is keeping this Yugamo from trying to get in. Meanwhile, other side of the map, you can see how many ships sailed over there, and they've just done nothing. You know, they're being held out, and they haven't even gotten the cap, probably because that Minotaur is sitting in a smoke and just made himself hard to hit. And really, that's unfortunate to see, because you see how many ships were committed over there, and how little they've managed to do so far. You really hope some of these ships start dropping off the map at least, because they're now in a big deficit. Not only are they down a ship, they're down every cap. The enemy team is rapidly approaching a 400-point lead. Now there's still some time, but caps are needed. And I think it's pretty much here that Galrock decides, okay, no one on my team's doing it, it's time to roll. Now the Benson, he's firing his guns. The Yugamo got spotted, not entirely sure how. Maybe the New Orleans radar is close enough. It's quite possible. Hopefully he can go dark, but for Galrock, it's time to fight. Now, with the Benson kind of sailing away, he's no longer the biggest threat. Biggest threat, right in front, this American cruiser, and you can see those amazing torp arcs. Galrock getting one right on and just throwing one to the left in case he maneuvers. And with the New Orleans turning on the side like that, it's AP time. Now a lot of people really get frustrated by Hindenburg's just throwing HE from long distance, but I promise you, you get a sight on target in any ship, you're getting Citadels. Galrock gets one there, picks up the kill, and is up to 50,000 damage, and more importantly, contesting a cap. But in that smoke screen is a big looming beast. Enemy Iowa was spotted going in there, and unfortunately, the torps run out before he gets there. Now this is where, when you're getting into a tight-in engagement, it's really important to keep track of what torpedoes you've used, which you haven't. I was showing a lot of side here, so Galrock's right to still be using AP. In under the bow, can get some great damage, but it's gonna be torpedoes. If he gets out of this, it's gonna have to come down to getting some torps in the water, and he does just that. Remembering to turn the right way, and taking out really the most immediate threat in the form of an Iowa. Third kill, up to 112,000 damage, and HE's loaded, because there's the Benson. Now interestingly, this enemy Iowa is actually providing a lot of protection for Galrock. The Benson, you know, can't have led torpedoes back this way simply because of the sinking ship, and more likely they were ahead of him. Plus we did see torpedoes pass by. Now the friendly Yugamo does do some work there, gets rid of the Benson. There's a ship gone, but they still don't have a cap. Fortunately, some kills have happened on the other side, though they've lost some ships of their own. Now Galrock, in just trying to retreat, and open some distance, well, he sailed out of the cap. That's okay. He's got a repair party going. Musashi, Yugamo, they're charging in on that KGV, and Galrock's guns are ready. Now he's got HE loaded. Based on the KGV's heading, I'd say that's a safe bet, though he is turning out, so AP might go a long way here, and feeling the same, Galrock swaps over. And map awareness is huge, especially in a situation like this with a cyclone that's closed in, which in all the mayhem, I missed that it was actually closing in. And sticking to AP really is, I think, going to be Galrock's best bet. Using that Yugamo's spotting on the Baltimore to set up an ambush. And these are situations where, yeah, you can't see him, but you can put yourself in an optimal position to engage him. And you can see Gal doing just that. He's heading more or less for the stern of that Balti, and was putting his guns to starboard, but now that the Baltimore is turning out, no longer maybe who he wants to charge at. Puts the Hydra up. I guess it's available. There's no torpedo threat from an American destroyer. I would personally have probably saved them for when I got closer to this minnow, but both these ships, if you have spotting, are gonna help, or gonna be able to be dealt with. Now fortunately, another repair party is available. It'll be jamming that UK all day because he doesn't have a lot of hit points, but the Baltimore firing HE, Galrock sorta angled, showed a little bit of side there to get his rear guns on, but the Hindi, 15, 20, 30 degrees on the bow, it's gonna bounce Baltimore shells all day, and it'll eat some damage, but this is one of the more heavily armored cruisers at the tier. The Moskva really taking the cake, I'd say, for ships that can bow tank well. But, I mean, any cruiser against a cruiser, it'll do its job. Even a minnow, a well-angled minnow, will stop a surprising number of shells from getting through. That is, unless it's a Yami, because pretty much nothing stops the lol pen. Now this is a situation where I'd really like to see the Yugamo getting out front, but it's also hard for the Yugamo to do that because you've got at least one radar in the form of the Baltimore. I'm assuming because of how the minnow's been moving about the map that he's a smoke minnow. So that's not as big a threat, but if that Baltimore were radar, it allows him to shoot outside that visual render range in the Cyclone. That's one of the advantages to a radar in a Cyclone, is it gives you 30 seconds where you can engage at the 10 kilometers that your radar is, rather than the limited view that the Cyclone offers. And Balti, bad time to be turning, though he does appear to kill it, only to turn in harder, and this is a mistake. You can see he's doing it to get his guns on, but he's given Galrock a perfect broadside. There's all the citadels and the kill to 146k, and that's just a bad play by the Baltimore, but Galrock took advantage. The Yugamo momentarily spots this Baltimore right before, Minotaur, right before he comes in to Galrock's detection. It allows him to focus his aim, and this once again just showing great map awareness. And the minnow, clearly feeling he's dead, turns to get torps in the water. This is why I personally have saved the Hydro for when I got to a situation where I was engaging the minnow. Gotta hope that maybe he narrow-lined all those torpedoes and they're all gonna miss. And it looks like he used the spread potentially, but misses nonetheless, and it's time to get into another cap. They're still well down on points. There is an enemy Montana left, hasn't been spotted in quite some time, and this is where the Yugamo can do a lot of work. The Yugamo is going to be able to get inside, spot that Montana, and help them find him. Now the Cyclone is opening up, but that still holds true. The Musashi, the Hindi, they're strong ships at long range. The Musashi, not as much. There's a bit of randomness in her shell. She's not quite the Yami, but if the Yugamo puts pressure, finds that Montana at range, so that Galrock and this Musashi get that opening engagement, they get that first shot, that's going to go a long way in helping them with the engagement. And, well, the Yugamo does just that, though it could be the Musashi who's got the detection. Either way, Galrock has a chance to shoot before the guns come his way. And you can see the Montana having 2 targets to aim at, chooses Galrock, so it's time to get your bow in. And he's not really doing it. You can see Galrock really wants to get these rear turrets on, and the Montana, despite having him targeted, doesn't really seem to be aiming at him. And that's a bit odd to see happening, but in between the shots, I'd definitely be just wiggling that stern out of the way, because here comes the shots and Galrock's definitely going to eat some pain there. And he does, 9k, and that kind of smartened him up. Turns to angle more, but this is now where he could be firing those rear guns and timing that. And swapping to AP, Montana is showing enough side, and well, Musashi just kind of derped a shot there, didn't get much out of a full volley in close. Galrock really putting the pain down, and Montana switched targets, and once that happened, once you lose that little one target in you, it's basically fair season. A couple fires going, they're going to be the one that finish this thing off. And they managed to come back there. Really, I think the enemy team would have been better to just try to run. The amount of time, the caps, I don't think Galrock's team was able to win on points. But they decided to fight, and they paid the price. Galrock took home 580,000 credits. Confederate, Dreadnought, Kraken, High Caliber, just shy of 201,000 damage with almost 200 shell hits. A couple torpedoes, the 5 kills, bunch of fires, some floods, and a couple citadels to round out a very solid game. And the Hindi is just a good ship. It can keep in the fight long enough, and it can pretty much remain in the fight the whole game if you're doing it from range, and that's what makes it such a deadly ship. And once you get in close, well, it's still very effective because it can tank damage well, and it's got the torpedoes to deal with targets if they try to flank you. End of this one, top of the team, 20-some hundred experience, and it's kind of what you expect when you kill that many ships. So well done, Galrock. Thank you for sending this in. I know it has been some time since you gave it to me. I think this is going back a couple patches. It's been sitting on the back burner, but it's finally going up, and I'll make sure to let you know. If everyone else enjoyed this, please consider giving it a thumbs up or subscribing to the channel. And as always, I am Qckslvrslash. I'll have another one for you all later.